So, there was once a woodcutter and his wife who lived in a tiny cottage. On the edge of a magnificent forest with their two children, they had a boy called Hansel and a girl called Gretel. It was hard life and there never seemed to be enough food. So nay man nag-asawa nga nagpuyo sa ng forest. Kalasangan. Na sila'y duha ka anak. Ang laki, ang pangan sa laki, Hansel. Ug ang bai, Gretel. In one particularly linear, the woodcutter's wife told to her husband one night, "There's not enough bread for us all tomorrow," she said. "It would be best for everyone if you took the children into the forest and left them there." So ni Ana ang mama ni Gretel ug ni Hansel nga wala sila pagkaon para ugma. Giingnan sa mama ang papa nilang Hansel ug Gretel nga dadon si Gretel ug si Hansel sa kalasangan para ibilin adto. "But they're starved to death," exclaimed the woodcutter. "It's either them or us," replied his heartless wife. Ni Ana ang papa nga, "Mamatay sila ato sa kagutom." Ito ni Ana silang mama nga, "Pagpili kita or silang mga anak." Ana. The woodcutter tried to make his wife change her mind, but after much argument, he reluctantly agreed to leave his children in the forest the following day. Bisag usab-usab sa papa, ang hinahuna sa mama kay ibilin lagi si Hansel ug Gretel sa lasang, wa gyapon usab ang hunahuna ni mama. Meanwhile, Hansel had overheard his mother and father arguing. When he heard of their terrible plan, he crept outside, picked up some white pebbles, and put them in his pocket. Early in the next morning, the woodcutter told his children that they must help carry the wood that he was going to chop down that day. As they walked deeper to the forest, Hansel began to drop behind him the pebbles he had collected. So katong nag-away ang mga magpapa ni Hansel, si Hansel naminaw kung unsay buhaton. Ito, nakadungog si Hansel nga mautoy plano. Dayon, nanguha si Hansel og mga bato. Pagpadung na nila sa forest, gitagak-tagak ni Hansel ang katong mga bato. Matunian na si Gretel nga, "What are you doing?" Siya nga, "Unsa man imong gibuhat?" Matunian na si Hansel nga, "Shh, you'll find out." Na siya nga, "Ay saba makaibaw ra ka." After walking for many hours, the woodcutter told his children to rest while he started to cut down the trees. The children were tired after walking so far and slowly drifted off to sleep on the forest floor. When they awoke, it was night and very dark. They realized that their father left him. So, gikapoy man si Hansel ug si Gretel. Kato nangatog sila sa kahoy lang sa kahoy. Pagmata nila gabi na. Dayon, wala na ang ilahang papa. So ilang nahibawan, gibilin jud sila sa ilahang papa. "I'm frightened," said Gretel, clutching her brother's arm. Matunian na si Gretel nga, "Nahadlok po," siya. Matunian na si Hansel nga, "Don't worry. Do you remember those white pebbles I dropped on the way here? If we follow them, they'll lead us home." Matunian siya, "Pahinumdum ka sa atong mga bato nga akong pangalabay. Kay mauto, mutultol na to padong uli." Mato, sure enough, the children followed the trail of white pebbles that glowed in the dark, and they arrived home just as the sun had started to lighten the sky. So, mauto ilahang gisindan para makauli sila. So, pagkakuan, naabot silang balay, nga hayag na ang adlaw. Their father was overjoyed to see them and hugged them tightly. He hadn't wanted to leave them in the forest in the first place. But their mother was not all pleased to see them and packed them off to bed as quickly as possible. That night, she told her husband that the next day he was to take the children even farther into the forest and live. Maato, nasuko ang mama nila. Ngano kung nakabalik si Hansel o si Gretel. Nasuko ilang mama ni sa mama ang papa nila nga ugma dapat dadon na siya sa pinakalayo para din nakauli si Hansel ug si Gretel. The poor woodcutter tried to argue with her, but she refused to change her mind. Early in the and dropped them behind him as they walked along the path. See, he whispered his sister, if Father leaves us in the forest again, we'll be able to follow the bits of bread all the way back home. Mato, gidala po sila pag-auma silang papa, dayon di padadal sila og paan sa ilang mama. Mato ang mga paan, gitikis-tikis dayon ni Hansel o gitagak-tagak para ikauli nila, baudya punto ilang tultulan kanya sa batong ilang buhat. When the children woke up, they realized that their father had left them again. They were all alone in the cold, frightening forest. Pagkamata na po nila anak, ibiyaan po sila sa ilahang papa. Then, when the children woke up, they realized their father had left them again. They were alone in the cold, frightening forest. Then what are we going to do? Ito na, utana na po si Gertie nga unsa ni sad ang buhato nila. We'll just follow the bits of bread as I told you. Patumian na siya na ato itong sundun ang mga bread katong akong gipang labay. Don't worry, everything will be fine. But as hard they looked, the children couldn't find any pieces of bread anywhere. Pero ilang gipangita, wa sila nakitaan kay nga naman. Kisa kay nakuha atong mga bread ngayon gipang taga-taga. Kay gipang tuka sa
Migas.
sa langgam. Matong wala na sila, katutol asa sila mo pagdung sa uli. That night, it was so cold. It was impossible to keep still. The children walked around the forest trying to keep warm, hoping that they wouldn't bump into large, hungry animal. As the sun started to come, they saw a white bird in the sky that seemed to be beckoning to them. Having no other plan, they followed the bird, which led them to the little cottage. They were amazed to see the cottage walls were made entirely out of bread, the roof was iced ginger cake, and the windows were made of sparkling sugar. So, ilang nakita ang gamay nga balay. Kani sila mga balay, mauni ang nakakuha na ni kay mga bread ni siya. Ani sa baba mga candy, kani makauni sila tanan kani. Makaon ako na, tanawa si Gretel o si Hansel, nagkaon-kaon na mga candy na siya. Then, just then, a loud voice rang out. Yan na sila natungog na tingog. Yan na nga, Nibble, nibble, little mouse, who's that nibbling at my house? Yan ang tingog na, kinsa mo na naasa gawas, kinsa may gakaon sa ako ang balay. Then the door opened and a little old lady came out. Hansel and Gretel thought they might be punished for eating bits of her house, but the old lady simply smiled and said, My goodness, you children must be hungry. Come inside, I'll make you breakfast. Ikawas ang old lady. Ikawas siya. Dayon, yan na siya hala, haluoy sa mga bata. Siguro gutom kaayo. Ali, sudod dire, pakadun muna ako. So, gipakaon sila sa old lady. Then, she showed them the tiny little bedroom that had 2 comfort beds in it, where they would have a lovely long sleep. Moto, gipakatog sila sa nindot kayo nga kama silang buha. So, ni Hansel na kanang magpuyuan sila. Then si Gretel nga, we are so lucky to found this kind lady. Siya swerte kita nga nakita tani old lady, tigulang. Kay buutan kung niya, ipakaon sila ang ipatog sa nindot nga higdaanan. But that kind of old lady was not kind of old lady at all. She was in fact a horrible, nasty witch who introduced the children in her oven so that she could eat them. So ang kanili siya, dili ni siya tigulang nga nitabang nila nga buutan nga tigulang. Witch ni siya. Usa man ng witch kanang mambabarang. Niya si Hansel o si Gretel iyang giplano nga isud niya sa oven, lutuon niya para iyahang kanon. The next morning, the cruel witch locked Hansel in a large cage with bars all around and told Gretel to cook for her brother. So pagkauma na, gilak si Hansel sa usa ka kanang prisuhan. Dayon giingnan sa old witch ang igsuon niya nga si Gretel na pagluto para ipakaon ni Hansel. He needs fattening up before he's ready for my oven. She hissed the poor girl. Hindi na nga dapat busog siya sa di pa siya nakupanon. Ana ang witch. Each day, the witch told Hansel to stick a finger through the bars so she could feel how fat he was getting. But Hansel was clever, and instead of poking out his finger, he stuck a bone out to make the witch think he wasn't floating on any weight at all. So tanaw mo, kapantay mo, na gisod sa kuan si Hansel. Ni ana ang pakadto siya maayo para ikahikap sa katong witch nga tamok siya, ready na siya lutuon sa oven. After a month, the witch was getting impatient and decided to eat Hansel straight away. She ordered Gretel to make a fire in the oven, then told her to build into it to make sure it was hot enough. Poor Gretel knew that if she crawled into the oven, the witch would close the door behind her and roast her as well as her brother. So, naglagot naman to ang witch kay dugay kay siya makakaon Hansel ug Gretel. Matuig si Gretel nga pagbuhat og kayo, na siya pagbuhat og kayo. Anhay mo ni ang iyang oven. Yan ana si Gretel nga kung ako magbuhat og kayo, basin isud ko ni sa witch diri. Dahil maluto ko ni ana siya. I'm not very good at climbing into things. Could you show me how, please? Mato, ni ana si Gretel nga, wadi ko kabaw unsaon. Pwede ko niyo matuluan? Mato siya, sure. Mato ni ana si ang witch. Mato na siya, okay, alright, say the witch. Who opened the door and crawled inside the oven to show exactly how it should be done. But when the witch was halfway, Gretel pushed her all the way with a great shout and slammed the door in behind her. And that was the end of a very horrible witch. Sumuoto, nagtanaw ang witch. Tanaw ang witch sa oven. Pag ana na sa witch, tungo dayon siya ni Gretel. Muto, gilak ni Gretel ang oven o dito naluto ang witch. Gretel released her brother from the cage and together they searched the cottage for anything that might be useful. They were amazed to find that cottage was crammed full of gold coins, silver, trinkets, and precious jewels. They gathered it all up and began to search for the way home. So, iya gipagawas ini igsuon. Then, nakita pa sila mga butang sa sud sa balay sa witch. Then, ilang nakita mga gold, silver, daghang nga kwarta. After wandering for a long time, they saw smoke rising from the chimney and the distance. They were overjoyed to see that it was their cottage. They had found their home at last. So, sa sige nilang pangita, nakita nila ang naigaaso na ay gamay nga balay, mauto ilang hinunduman na ilahan na ay itong balay. When their father saw that his children were alive and well, he dropped his axe and hugged them close to him. I'm so happy to see you both again, he cried. Mato, ni Ana ang papa nila nga, nalipay ko nga nakita tamong balik. To grabe nilang mikaya. I thought you were dead for sure. To ni Ana ang papa nga, bas, nagtuo ko nga, namatay na mo, ana. When he saw the treasure that they had brought with them, he couldn't believe his eyes. So gidamon to nilang Hansel ug ni Gretel ang mga gold, mga silver, mga kwarta na tinailahang papa. Hansel and Gretel sold everything that they found in the witch cottage and became very rich. So gipang-asa man to nila Hansel and Gretel ang mga coins, nga mga silver, gold, ilang gipamaligya o hit na dato sila. Although their cruel mother had died while they were lost in the forest, the children and their father lived happily together for the rest of their days. So, mauto, nahib na dato sila Hansel o si Gretel. Dahil ilang naibawan nga namatay na ang ilahang mama. So, mauto, nilindot na kayo sila balay, dato na sila, kahit tungod sa katong mga silver o gold nga ilang nakitaan sa balay sa witch. So, mauto dito namuyo sila mali, nawon o mali, payon. So, usa man inyong nakatunan? Nga, kaysa may naigsoon ba?
Si Gretel o si Hansel.
kanang tabangan sa di mo imong igsuon. No, parehas ni Hansel ug ni Gretel, dili mo mag-away, magtina,